Hi. I want to take a few minutes to talk about a few items in more detail than we're able to cover in the entries in the diary. Just by nature of the diary, there's limited space available in each entry, but these items I think warranted a little further discussion. The first of those is validated learning, and I've talked about this in each of the first two entries into the diary, but I want to talk a little bit more. I've been involved in internet product development for 20 years. I've seen some products succeed, and I've seen some products fail miserably. And the common thread in the products that succeeded is they got a minimal product out in front of people early and updated that product frequently and continued to get that in front of people. They did not keep the application secret, try to build the best of all products, and then have a big launch. That rarely works well. You want to get your product in front of people, you want to socialize it, you want to get their feedback, but not just what they say they want, but what they do. What actions do they take? What buttons do they click? What will they spend money for? Early adopters were excellent for this because they'll spend money on the basic application if you have part of what they want, and their actions will tell you what you need. So socialize your product, constantly improve it on this learning. Don't be afraid that somebody's going to steal it. You're going to know your product better than anybody else. And if you're doing this validated learning, you're going to know your market space better than anybody else, and you're going to serve that market better and you have a more successful product. The second thing I wanted to discuss was error handling. And we do have some error handling in the applications, the code that we've published in the entries on the diary, but as I mentioned, this is a brief how-to learn how to build a Windows Store application. You need to have a robust, certifiable application. Microsoft will go through a fairly rigid certification process to make sure your application is ready to put on the Windows Store. So you want to make sure you can pass that certification process. But beyond that, you want to make sure that your customers have a positive experience with your application. You don't want the application behaving erratically or hanging up because unexpected errors are occurring. So you want to make sure that your application can respond gracefully to those problems that will come up. Common things to look for are nulls. If you're using an object, you want to make sure it's initialized ahead of time. Collections. If you're trying to grab an item out of a collection or array, make sure it's not empty. Transient resources. If you're using the network or some other resources that may be there one moment but it's not the other, you need to make sure that it's available when you want to use it, or at least recover gracefully when it's not there. And in all applications, you want to have exception handling. There may be some things outside of your application that cause an unexpected exception. Make sure you're catching those so they aren't thrust upon your customers. Finally, I want to talk about the lifetime of your data. In this entry of the diary, we talked about saving data for the maps, the locations, the zoom level set by the user. We remember those. We put that into permanent storage or persistent storage. So when the app was suspended, or even they close the application down and come back 2 days later, those settings will still be there. The application will remember the user settings. But that may not be appropriate for all data. Perhaps you have data that should only exist during a session, what the person's doing at that time. It will still be recovered during when the application is suspended and swapped back in, but when they come back 2 days later, you want a fresh start. You don't want to remember that data. Both types of data storage are available to Windows Store applications. You need to make a design decision for each piece of data in your application. How long should that data live? What is the lifetime of that data? In the next entry of the diary, we're actually going to talk about cloud storage, building a data store on Azure for data that is not just permanent, but can be shared across users of the application or even across other applications.